All right, we are beginning with the affirmative. 5 minutes beginning when you're ready.
Judge and opponents ready?
Yes.
Okay, great. So my time starts now. Hi, I'm Emily from the Dolphin Debate Club, and I'll be supporting the resolution that the U.S. should shorten its work week. For framework, I would like to offer cost-benefit analysis, which means that if I can show you that shortened work week means more benefits than costs, I will win this debate. For definitions, I will provide that the U.S. is the United States of America. Shorten is to make shorter, and work week is the amount of days worked during a week. My plan for this debate would be to have a 32-hour work week for each employee, but they would be scheduled on different days to ensure full coverage throughout the whole week and a normal 8-hour day. My first contention is less stress and burnout for the employees. According to the University of Cambridge, findings suggest that a 4-day work week significantly reduces stress within employees and also reduces illness and helps with worker retention. Therefore, if we do this, we'll have employees that are less burnt out, less stressed, and are ill less, which means they'll have to take less sick days and will be at work more. Another study from UK Research and Innovation found that the 40-hour work week is associated with increased risk of burnout. So by reducing this, we will have less risk of burnout. And Scientific American stated that working 4 days instead of 5 leads to improved well-being among employees without damaging the company's productivity. So we can reap all of these benefits without damaging the company's overall productivity and output. Another important source is from University of Cambridge and Boston College and Birchall that said 40% of employees said their mental health had improved and their anxiety had decreased when working the shorter work week. My next contention is gender equality. So a lot of mothers stay home to take care of their children. According to Pew Research Center, it is 26% of mothers and 7% of fathers. So as we can see there is a lot less women that are working, and according to Forbes, only 10% of CEOs are women. So there's a big gap there. And by having this shorter work week, we make it easier for women that may have to be currently staying home with their children to also be able to work. And if we're able to bridge this gap, it not only helps us with equality, but it also helps the economy because according to the Stanford Business School, progress on gender equality could add $12 trillion to the global economic growth by 2025. My next contention is that we will have um, more people aren't interested in it, so we will have more people applying to jobs. So according to UK's Adam Bank, they saw a 500% surge in job applicants once they switched to the 4-day work week. So a lot of people are interested in it, and if more people are applying, then that will help more companies find talent and just people to fill their jobs and could reduce unemployment. And also, according to another source, 80% of people are interested in working a 4-day work week, but it's just more proof that employment would go up. My next contention is that workers will be more productive even if the week is shorter. According to Zipco, 82% of employers offering a 4-day work week report increased staff productivity. And 81% of workers, according to CNBC, say that a 4-day work week would make them more productive, meaning that is not only supported by the people running the company, but also the workers. The World Economic Forum says that there will be a 40% boost in productivity, and shareable.net says from a 2021 study, when long working hours are reduced, individual productivity increases and fewer mistakes are made at work. So not only will productivity increase, but also fewer mistakes will be made. As my final contention, I want to state that revenue can actually increase even if workers are going to work less. According to Business Insider, it found from a study of over 33 participating companies with a 4-day work week, revenue actually increased 8% over a 6-month trial period. And According to PBS, with a trial with 23 companies, it grew 1.4% over the course of the 6-week trial. So, as we can see here, with the 4-day work week, we will have supportive mental health, we will have increased productivity, increased revenue, and overall a more successful country. Thank you.
Excellent. We are now going into a period of cross-examination for 2 minutes. This is the negative cross-examining the affirmative.
Okay, judges and opponents ready?
Yes.
Okay, I will begin my 2 minutes now.
Oh,
Are
hold
you-
on just a second. I got to pause here because one of our judges has actually been disconnected. Sorry about that. We're going to try and deal with that connection issue here really quickly, but I just want to make sure that the judges hear everything you have to say. So I'm going to pause the recording here, and 2 minutes for the negative to cross-examine the affirmative, beginning when you're ready. Rae, you're muted.
Judges ready and opponents ready?
Yes.
Okay, I will begin my 2 minutes now. So, are you able to provide examples of successful countries and trials with a reduced work week?
I don't know if I have a trial that applies to a. Oh yeah, actually I do. Yes, in Japan, there was a trial done with Microsoft where they had success and 40% boosted productivity.
Okay, so actually, so this Japan trial that you're talking about actually had a decrease by 20% in this trial period. So if we were if we were to implement a shorter work week, how do you propose addressing the potential decrease in productivity and economic output, considering Japan's experience that you just cited, where the economy contracted by 20% during this trial period?
Well, I found different statistics about so you're saying the economy fell by 20%?
Yeah, so your statistic might be I don't know where it might be correct, but it's also a fact that during this trial period that happened in Japan, it contracted by 20%.
Well, I would say that we would maybe need to analyze the Japan study and see more about what could have gone wrong, because I have other statistics from Business Insider and PBS that have shown economic success and revenue increase with those with the 4-day work week. So
Okay, so are you able to analyze this? Because you just cited this in your argument. You just said you use Japan as an example. So are you able to analyze this? Because I'm giving evidence that it actually contracted by 20%, but you used it for your case. So can you analyze this?
I mean, I didn't use it to say that the economy would be improved. I only used it to say that productivity could be improved. So whether or not that
My question was on productivity and economic output, and you cited Japan. I believe it's time.
I would need to look at the source more.
Okay. Judges ready? Opponents ready? I will begin my 7 minutes now. Hello, my name is Reagan Brown, and I will be arguing on the negative side of the resolution the United States should shorten its work week. I like to start with a few definitions that I like to clarify within this debate. I agree with my opponent's definition of shorten, so that's fine. So I would like to begin with the definition of work week. So I will be going off of a traditional work week in the United States, which is 5 days and 40 hours. So I agree with my opponent's framework of cost-benefit analysis, which means that we'll be analyzing this debate on the benefits and the cons of each side. So I'll like to start with my contentions now. Contention 1 is decreased productivity. Shortening the work week can lead to a significant decrease in overall productivity. In a globalized and competitive world, businesses rely on continuous operation to meet demands and stay ahead. Allcap, an engineering and industrial supply company owned by Mark Roderick, participated in UK's 4-day workweek trial starting in June 2022. Despite the intention to provide additional rest days for the 40-person crew, the managing director encountered challenges. Employees experienced exhaustion, leading to 9 intense workdays instead of the intended 10. Additionally, issues arose in finding adequate cover for employees on their designated rest days due to factors such as holidays, sickness, and caring responsibilities. Reducing the number of working hours may result in longer turnaround times, delayed projects, and ultimately hinder economic growth, which will hurt our current world with the United States. Contention 2, increase costs for businesses. A shorter work week could increase costs for businesses as they might need to hire additional staff to maintain current levels of productivity. This would impact small businesses disproportionately, potentially leading to layoffs and hindering entrepreneurship. The burden of these increased costs may be also transferred into consumers in the form of higher prices in goods and services. Japan, which my opponent cited in her cross-ex, already experimented with a shortened work week from 1988 to 1996, reducing it from 46 to 30 hours. The outcome was unequivocal. Economic output fell by a staggering 20%. This case serves as a cautionary tale, emphasizing the potential negative consequences a reduced work week could have on the world's economic performance. Contention 3, potential job losses. Well, the intention behind shortening the work week is to improve the work-life balance and may have unintended consequences such as job losses. If businesses struggle to cope with the reduced work hours, they may resort into cutting jobs to remain financially viable. This can lead to an increase in unemployment rates, directly contradicting to the resolution's perpetuated benefits. Contention 4, limited opportunities for part-time workers. Shortening the work week might result in more part-time positions, making it difficult for individuals seeking full-time employment to find suitable opportunities. This can lead to underemployment and reduce job satisfaction among workers who prefer stable, full-time positions with comprehensive benefits. Contention 5, impact on innovation. In a globalized and rapidly advancing technological landscape, reducing the work week could impede innovation. Industries such as research and development, technology, and healthcare rely on continuous efforts and collaboration. Cutting back on work hours might hinder breakthroughs and delay the development of crucial technologies that benefit the society and our world as a whole. Contention 6, disparities in industries and sectors. A shorter work week may not be universally applicable across all industries. Some sectors require longer hours due to the nature of their work, such as healthcare, emergency services, and manufacturing. A lot of these services go beyond like a traditional work week. So again, having a day off may not be possible for some weeks if you're a doctor or if you're in these emergency services. Implementing a uniform reduction in the work week and hours may exacerbate existing inequalities as certain industries struggle to adapt, potentially leading to wage gaps and disparities in work-life balance. So that's it for my contentions, and I like to start with rebutting some of my opponent's points. So my opponent's let's start actually with my opponent's plan. So her plan is a 32-hour work week scheduled on different days, so there's always someone working in. So I'm going to take this as a 4-day work week because a lot of the evidence that she cites is based on a 4-day work week. The Japan study, all of her studies are based on trials that happen within a 4-day work week. So that's what I'll be going as. 32-hour work week is also a 4-day work week technically. So where contention 1 is less stress, she talks about how it reduces illness, less burnout, and how less sick days and people it can reduce the risk of burnout. So story after story, the media and my opponent expounds on how much less stressed employees are with a 4-day work week at the risk of sounding redundant. Of course, less work means less stress. Work is stressful, as any working person can tell you, but stress is a part of life. Not to say that stress is good, but given so many news stories that are making such expansive claims about how beneficial this is, why aren't more companies doing it? Why is it that the number of 4-day a week jobs have not changed in the last 3 years? A shorter work week can cause workers to struggle to get work done, leading to my opponent's contention 3 and 4, which I'll link together. They both talk about productivity. She talks about how there'll be a 40% boost in productivity, and her contention 4 or contention 3 about how more people be interested in it, and more employees can find talent, and more people are interested in applying jobs. So a shorter work week can cause workers to struggle to get work done in fewer hours. If companies don't limit distractions such as emails and long meetings, compressed work schedules can also sap workers' productivity since they cram 40 hours of work worth into 4 10-hour days. A lot of my opponent's evidence on productivity are based on trials that lasted for a few months. Again, this resolution is going to have a blanket just shorten the work week technically forever. So these trials, yes, they have a increased productivity rate within like the first week or month, but that there hasn't been a long enough trial to say that these results are actually applicable. The study in Japan, once again, I talked about how it actually had a less it actually impacted the economy negatively in response to that. That can also respond to my opponent's contention 5, where she talked about how revenue will increase. There have been trials that have happened where the revenue has actually decreased. She's talking about all of the positive benefits, but she doesn't talk about the negative. She doesn't talk about all of the factors that go on to these trials that like quote unquote succeeded, right? So my opponent, she talks about gender equality. Gender equality is crucial, but a shorter work week may inadvertently reinforce traditional gender roles. It can be perceived as accommodating women's caregiving responsibilities, reinforcing stereotypes, rather than addressing the root causes of gender inequality. Thank you, and I'll end my time.
Cool. We are now going into a period of cross-examination. This is the affirmative asking questions to the negative. Affirmative, begin when you're ready.
Okay, so judges and opponent ready?
Yes,
Okay, so first I just wanted to make a clarification. Can you please restate your third contention?
of course. So my third contention was on the potential job losses. I talk about how there's an intention of shortening the work week to improve work-life balance, but it may resort into cutting jobs to remain financially viable, which can increase unemployment rates.
Okay, thank you. So what you just said about gender inequality, can you explain to me again how it would have a negative impact on gender inequality and, as you said, reinforcing stereotypes?
Yeah, so I can talk a little bit more about this, but I think yeah, gender equality is crucial. Again, you're saying that like a woman will have more time to go to work, but again, like a lot of times like during work, people have days where they can be off either way. So I don't understand how this will just increase like equality in general, because yeah, gender equality is crucial, but I feel like a shorter work week may reinforce traditional gender roles rather than fix them.
Okay, thank you. So, you said that you kind of said that like less stress isn't as like important, but isn't it true that
Oh,
if people
I didn't say that was important. I never said that.
okay, but you said that you said in response to my point that you asked like why aren't companies doing it? And so do you think that companies are good are in the right for not shortening to a 4-day work week even if it reduces stress? And
I actually talk about my point about how shortening the work week can cause more stress because you're cramming 40 hours into 4 days, meaning longer hours within the work day. You're trying to do 40 hours of work within 4 days. So it can cause more stress. I never said stress isn't important, or I never said that. So I think that yes, a lot of stories are making expansive claims about how beneficial it is, but a lot of companies aren't doing it and they're not doing it for a reason. That's my point.
Cool. Time is up for cross-ex. We are now going to go into a period of prep time. We have 2 minutes for prep, after which we hear from the affirmative for up to 4 minutes. 2 minutes are beginning now.
okay, judges and opponent ready?
Yes.
Okay. So, my time starts now. So first, I would just like to clarify some things from cross-examination. My opponent tried to refute my Japan study, and I think what I realized is we're actually talking about different Japan studies. Their study took place before 2000, and mine took place in 2019. And in my study, all the articles about it were talking about its success and how it showed that productivity was up by 40%, costs to companies fell by 23%, and yeah, it was just an overwhelming success. So I just want to talk about how the study from Japan that I'm studying is actually still a good source. Okay, now I would like to refute my opponent's arguments. So my opponent again talked about a decrease in productivity, And they talked about how this was, I think, due to the fact that people won't be working as much, but they did not, I did not see that they cited any sources, whereas I have the Scientific American, which is saying that people that work less days, 4 days, will have improved well-being without damaging the company's productivity. According to Drive Research, 77% of workers reported increased productivity when working a 4-day week. And again, that Japan study from the World Economic Forum, which is a very citable source. So I think my research goes well beyond my opponents due to its credibility. Again, I have another source from Harvard Business Reviews saying that shorter work days had increased productivity. So that is refuted. Then my opponent's next argument was additional costs for businesses, talking about how they would maybe have to hire more people. And I think that how my plan was supposed to work was that you could work to keep roughly the same amount of employees and just maybe have a few less for each day and distribute the work a little bit differently. But even if companies did have to hire a few more people, this would still not be per se bad for them, because like I said, there'd be increase in revenue due to like cited in my PBS source and my other sources, and there would be increased productivity, which could lead to more money for them. And my opponent then talked about job loss, which I do not understand why there would be job loss at all. The 4-day work week means there's more opportunity for people that don't want to work as much. More people want the 4-day work week. And yeah, I just don't see why there would be job loss. They said that there would be limited opportunities for workers and workers that prefer like longer jobs, but they didn't really say like how many workers prefer more jobs, or sorry, more days of working. And I cited a source that said 80% of people don't want that, so I don't think that's a big problem that we have to worry about. They talked about impact on innovation, and I think that my statistics on productivity can refute this. And they talked about disparities in different sectors, and I think again, there's ways that we can work to plan around it, and the benefits still outweigh the costs, because a lot of these sectors where these people are working so hard, they really need this extra day off, like manufacturing, healthcare. Those are hard jobs, and a lot of people are quitting because of burnout. And so I think that those are actually the industries that need this the most and could benefit hugely from the 4-day work week. So yeah, to conclude, I have refuted my opponent's arguments, and I have shown that the 4-day work week will have increased productivity. I stated Harvard, Scientific American, Drive Research, many different sources, and I have also shown how many of my opponent's apparent costs will not turn out to be true, so there's more benefits.
Excellent. That concludes that speech. We now have a 2-minute prep time followed by a 5-minute speech by the negative. Prep time has begun now. Negative, you're muted.
Sorry. Judges and opponents ready?
Yes.
Okay, I will begin my time, my 5 minutes starting now. So I like to begin this segment just clarifying what my opponent said about the cross-ex. She basically said that in the cross-ex, I talk about the Japan study and I refute it with the negative consequences of the same Japan study. She says she's talking about a different Japan study. Even though that may be true, the consequences of that study still apply to her point on economic benefits. And even then, even again, if she's talking about the Japan study in the most recent one. So that Japan study was in Microsoft. So Microsoft also tested a 4-day work week by shutting down its Japan office every Friday during the month of August. There was a claim that this resulted in a 40% increase in productivity. But if that's true, why aren't they doing it everywhere where Microsoft operates? Again, the answer is simple. Productivity increased over a very short period of time during a low productivity summer month when overall productivity was already at a 75-year low. In all fairness, who doesn't want to work 80% of the hours for 100% of the salary and benefits? But the problem is that the 4-day work week doesn't work for the bottom line, no matter how much the media or employees would like it to. My opponent talks about how employees want this and employees already want to do this, but again, that doesn't really matter. Some people believe that working hours were not cut down as a whole. They were redesigned for employees to enjoy some meaningful free time. There was an Icelandic study who did this trial that suggests that working fewer hours is possible by shortening breaks, limiting meetings, and eliminating needless tasks. Instead of reducing hours, companies can allow the flexibility to determine how they work best. They can encourage work-life balance and promote mental and physical well-being, right? So I'd like to clarify my point about gender inequality in response to I believe her second contention. So again, while promoting gender equality is vital, a 32-hour work week may inadvertently reinforce gender stereotypes by assuming that women should primarily be responsible for caregiving. Instead of challenging societal norms, this approach can perpetuate the idea that women are primary caregivers, potentially hindering progress towards true gender equality. Additionally, if women are seen as the primary beneficiaries of a shorter work week, it may inadvertently create resentment among male employees, further complicating workplace dynamics. So in response to my contention one, decreased productivity, my opponent says that I don't only have like the correct sources and that she has sources, but I don't really have exact evidence to this. All of my sources are based on real studies and trials that took place on this 4-day work week. That's where I'm getting my evidence from. Her evidence is very mismatched, and it seems like she doesn't really know where her evidence is from. Like when I asked her in cross-ex, it doesn't seem that she's paying attention to her sources, because again, her evidence that she's using is based on a 4-day work week, but doesn't take into account the consequences. She's only cherry picking some positives, but when I mentioned the negative, she acts like she doesn't know that the negative exists, right? So in response to her response to my contention to increase cost for businesses, she cites her plan. She says that you'll have a few less a day, and that if they have to hire more people, it wouldn't be bad because there's an increase in revenue. Once again, if you're hiring more people, you're spending more money. So either way, the company would be spending more money than if we wouldn't adopt this resolution. And she talks about increase in revenue. I've cited multiple sources where there actually wasn't an increase in revenue. So for example, in the UK, where they did this trial, 40% of respondents said that their business productivity had maintained around the same level. And this was the biggest 4-day work week trial ever to be done in the UK, and that's what was said about it. So in response to her response of potential job losses, she said that she doesn't understand more people want this 4-day work week. Again, just because people want it doesn't mean that it's beneficial for our economy and our world. Of course, like if you hear, oh, 4-day work week, I have to work less. Of course you would want that. Who wouldn't want it? If I was an employee and I just saw this blanket statement, oh yeah, do you want to shorten the work week? Yes, I would. Of course I would say yes. But again, if you're thinking as a business owner and you're thinking about someone who knows about the economy, you would know that it actually leads to more cost than benefits. So it doesn't really matter if people click yes on a survey, yes, I want to shorten the work week. That doesn't really mean anything. So in a response to my contention 4, she says, limited opportunities for part-time workers. She said that many workers prefer more days of working. 80% don't want that. Once again, with what I just said. So my opponent didn't respond to my contention 6. I'm not able to defend any of my points, so I'm left defenseless. So if she mentions anything about my contention 6, which she didn't respond to, I cannot respond. So thank you. I hope you cast your vote for the negative side. I believe I showed that it has much more of an impact. Thank you, and I'll end my time now.
Cool. We're going into a prep time of 2 minutes, followed by an affirmative speech of up to 3 minutes. Prep time is beginning now.
Okay, judge and opponents ready?
Yes.
Okay, great. So my time starts now. So first I'll be responding to some things my opponent said, and then I will be giving my final arguments. So just to respond to some of the stuff with healthcare, which again I did respond to last time, even if my opponent says I didn't. With my opponent's argument saying that with the healthcare industry that it wouldn't work and would cause a lot of logistical challenges. Um, in a study that by the UK, it said that 71% of healthcare workers saw reduced levels of burnout, and someone, the president of the Faculty of Public Healthcare, said that shortening the work week could improve morale among healthcare workers. So I just think that's something to keep in mind. Then, moving on to what my opponent said, um, in response to the Japan study, they said that there was still downsides to theirs and that I was cherry picking, but I think that my opponent is also cherry picking because they're ignoring the fact that their study is much more outdated than mine, and mine only shows positive effects with a 40% increase in productivity, which I think weighs more than their very old study. And then moving on to what my opponent said about gender equality, they said basically that assuming that like women needed to stay home more was reinforcing stereotypes. And I am not saying that women should stay home more and take care of the children. I'm saying that that is the blatant truth. Based off Pew Research Center, 26% of mothers were staying home to take care of their children versus 7% of men. Is this how this should be? No, but it's how it is. And so if we fail to acknowledge it, how are we going to help these women? And they did not respond to really any of my points talking about the economic and other benefits of bridging the gender equality gap, and they only said that it would reinforce stereotypes, which I think it won't. Then she said that for with companies, if they're hiring more people, then they're spending more money. But again, she did not recognize the research that I've said that will show that companies will make more revenue and will have increased productivity. So even if in the moment the company has to spend a little bit more money to hire some more people, the outcome of this could be that the people that they hire increase their productivity and revenue, making them more money. And the fact that they had to hire these more people can mean that they do the 4-day work week, which will increase their productivity and revenue. So it's a net positive. And she said that it doesn't matter that more people want to do the 4-day work week but it does, because that means they'll be more willing to work and this will decrease unemployment. So to speak again, something that my point did not talk a lot about is the reduction in stress, which is very important, the economic outcome in raise in revenue, and the fact that it will increase productivity. Thank you.
Cool. And that concludes that debate. We're waiting on Scarlett to join back. She got kicked off mid-speech there, and I'm not sure how much she missed, so I want to ask her that when she gets in here. Scarlett, can you hear us?
Yes, I can. So the last thing that I heard was 26% of mothers stay
Got you.
home, and then 7% of fathers stay home.
Okay, cool. So Emily, would you like to redo the portion of your speech that occurred after those citations?
Yes, I don't know how well I'll be able to redo it, but basically what I said is I was saying that it's not reinforcing stereotypes to acknowledge that more women are staying home and taking care of their children and not being able to work. It's just acknowledging the facts of right now. And so having this 4-day work week can be more accommodating to them and make it easier for them to work and take care of their children. And sorry, I'm having trouble remembering what I said before or after that. But I talked about how well, in response to what my opponent said, I talked about how she said that with the job loss, my statistic of saying that 80% of people didn't want a shorter work week didn't matter, and I was saying that it does, because if more people want that work week, there will be more people willing to work, and unemployment can go down. And I also responded to my opponent's argument about companies having to spend more money to hire more people, talking about how it will, in the end, be a net positive for the company, because with this 4-day work week, even if they have to hire more people, they will have increased productivity and revenue shown by my many statistics. I believe that is the majority of what I said after that.
Cool. Thank you very much. So what we traditionally do for the final round is we have the judges turn off their cameras and mics and work on filling out their ballots. Once all the ballots are submitted, I will let people know. And then I'll throw it to the judges to give some verbal feedback to the debaters and to also announce their decisions. We don't do that earlier in the tournament because it just takes up too much time. But for the final round, we do that. So judges, work on filling out your ballots. Debaters, you can hang tight. And once we are done with the ballots, once all those are submitted, we'll jump into feedback. So cool. Cool. So we are now good to go over feedback on the final round today. Before we announce winners and go over the feedback, I want to just quickly congratulate the debaters again for their excellent performance today, and also thank our judges once again for their excellent work judging this round and also the rounds leading up to it. I'm going to hand it over now to, let's go to Scarlett first, and let's get your decision on the debate and also the feedback you want to give to the debaters.
Okay, cool. First, I just want to say congrats, Emily, for breaking. I thought you did such an amazing job. I do vote AF in this round. I think AF has sufficient evidence to show that reducing the work week is actually more beneficial than not. Some key arguments that I voted for were increased productivity. I thought that the Japan argument was defended well by showing that it was a study that was completed in 2019, showing that right now it would actually work, whereas the NEG had a study from 2000. So even though the study is relevant in some ways, it's outdated and doesn't account for society has changed over time. I also vote on the argument that it helps the healthcare industry and healthcare workers from experiencing burnout, thus helping this industry in particular to be more productive. But yeah, I thought both of you had some really immense. Something that I suggest is to, when you're writing your contentions, I think you need to condense it a little more so that instead of like writing 6 contentions, I think having like 3 really good contentions that are impacted out really well is a good thing to kind of focus on. Because I liked all of your contentions, but some of them probably could have like been in one altogether. And also just make sure that you're focusing on lot on impacts. I need more impact analysis to be able to determine like why your arguments are more important than your opponents. I think there is like, I guess for productivity, you can explain like more of the economic impacts with that. If like there's no increased productivity, then no revenue. And if there's no revenue, then that means unemployment increases, meaning the quality of life decreases, meaning there's more poverty and people are just gonna like it's gonna overwhelm probably like the healthcare industry. Like you can impact out your contentions a lot more. Like there's a lot you guys can do. And you guys have that ability to do that. Like you guys are really well debaters. And then also something that would just help is if you guys were to give off time. So instead of telling us during your speech where you're going to go on the flow, before time could tell the judge what arguments you're going to hit on first and in what order. That way the judge can like be a little bit more organized with where they're going to flow your arguments, and it just helps with organization, actually figure out what arguments you're.
Great. Thank you very much. So now let's move on to our next judge, Hadley.
Okay, so first off, congratulations making it to finals. That was a really, really good round in terms of bringing out, but also like analyzing the sources and statistics that you guys use to back up your arguments instead of just like throwing cards at me. I thought that was really nice. I did end up voting for side negative for a few reasons. The first is that I buy the analysis you gave that a 6-month long trial isn't going to show us the same impacts that a multi-year long trial does, like the initial Japan trial. I buy that a lot of the harms become clear after we've had like an initial boost, and that's when those like costs start to arise. Secondly, I do vote with you on the healthcare and emergency service workers, and that a one-time, like all across the board work week reduction is not going to solve the issues there, and that we probably need a more nuanced solution for individual sectors of the economy. And then lastly, I do end up buying the argument an economic output here, and I thought that was argued really well, that like it doesn't really matter if productivity increases in certain sectors and in certain portions of the workforce if overall the economic output is decreased and innovation is decreased, because that's going to impact like GDP and long-term growth of an economy over just like individuals. Overall, I thought it was a really great debate, but I do end up citing for the negative for those 3 reasons. Otherwise, it came down really close in terms of like the ability to decrease the gender pay gap, which I thought was a really, really strong argument. I just wish that it had been fleshed out a little bit more on how specifically those 4-day work weeks would affect women who aren't currently in the workforce. I feel like had that argument been fleshed out a little bit more, it probably would have been much bigger in terms of weighing. But other than that, congratulations.
Great. Thank you so much. Moving on to our final judge. That's John.
Well, I hate to be the tiebreaker here. So I voted for the affirmative by really a small margin. For me, it was a really close debate. It was the closest debate of the ones I judged today. I thought both of you did a really fantastic job. So let me take a look at my notes here. So I thought, Emily, I thought your performance was just, all around pretty strong. And Rae, I thought, your performance, I thought like during some of the rebuttal periods, where it was really just sharp. I thought you had some good lines. And so I thought you were really strong in that aspect. But overall, I just think, Emily's points were just a little bit more condensed than Rae's. And so she was able to just flesh out her arguments a little bit more. Whereas Rae, you were, I think, a little bit more spread thin across 6 contentions. But other than that, I thought, both of you defined your terms and your frameworks really clearly. You both had strong arguments, and I thought it was really impressive how both of you really just kind of navigated the nuance of the studies both of you were citing, especially that Japan study. I really liked that both of you really paid attention to details like, when the studies were published, where they were published, how they were conducted. Instead of just throwing numbers at us, throwing numbers at each other, you guys, I really thought you guys did a good job taking a little bit of a deeper dive and analyzing that.
Great. Well, thank you very much. And once again, congratulations to our debaters. It was a great round, close round, I think by agreement of many of the judges. As a reminder, our next debate tournament is going to be hosted on the 23rd of April, I think. Let me just double check on that. I should have this right in front of me. Sorry, 27th of April. So throw that in your calendar if you don't have that already. If you were a judge today and you want to judge again at an upcoming tournament, just let me know. And I'll throw you on the list of people I'll ask to judge at that tournament. Great work today. Thanks again to our judges and our competitors. I'm not going to keep you any longer. So take care, judges. You'll hear from me about your payment, and be well. Happy debating at future tournaments.
All right. Thank you. Have a good day, you guys.
Adios.
Bye.